Yeah, so for this week's main topic, we were blessed to get out to the Walt Disney World Resort just this past weekend, June 7th, a bit of June 8th as well, to experience some new things and say goodbye to a beloved attraction, right, Michelle?
Right. There's some new experiences that are being offered for guests at the Walt Disney World Resort, and as you said, a beloved attraction closing. And in between all that, we had quite an adventure of
Oh boy.
trying to experience two of those things that we're excited to talk about
Yes,
too.
it is there is some extreme adventure involved going here, quite a story. We'll get to all of that. So let me just talk about how this came about. As soon as we heard the announcement that the new Villains show, Villains and Fairly After, and The Little Mermaid, a musical adventure, the two new shows at Disney's Hollywood Studios were going to debut. It was about 2 weeks ago.
The last week in May, yeah,
Right.
like right after the holiday.
We were like, okay, well, let's book something for the weekend. We need to go see those shows because they're brand new. Then they announced that GO82 was going to be opening up at EPCOT with the new Spaceship Earth Lounge. That was happening the week after. So we pivoted a little bit. We're like, well, we were able to get a reservation. Let's do both those things. We'll go push it back a week later. Oh, and by the way, that day happens to fall on the final day for MuppetVision 3D, which we were going to pay our respects to anyway. Now we'd have the chance to do it on its final day.
Yeah, and some other little pixie dust to all of this is we got to share a lot of these experiences with my niece.
Yes, we did. We met up with her later in the day. We'll get to that for sure. But yeah, so we decided, okay, now we looked at it. We're like, okay, this is going to be a very busy day. MuppetVision 3D is closing. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to be out there that want to experience this one last time. So we were staying on property. We said we're staying at the Riviera Resort. We figured out that would be a great place between the two, Disney's Hollywood Studios and EPCOT. We can hop on the Skyliner and get to both. We need to go book it out there very early in the morning and get there for early entry, which is available to us. So that's what we did. We got up very early in the car, 6 a.m. It takes us about an hour and a quarter to get out there. We wanted to park at the Riviera and then Skyliner over. So that's what we did. Booked it over there, got there, and headed right off to Disney's Hollywood Studios. Got there just before 8 a.m. By the time we'd parked the car, got on the Skyliner, went over there. Still lines waiting for people to get in, but only for a few minutes. We were there pretty close to opening time, and they zipped people through the gates. They were not even scanning fingerprints. They were you just scanned your magic band or your ticket or your card or your phone or whatever it might be, and they were putting you right through. So even though you can see, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see the line here, looks fairly lengthy. That's past the ticket booths. It moved pretty quickly, right, Michelle?
Right. And they also weren't doing like a special entry for park guests. Resort guests at that moment.
Right.
It was more once you went to attractions, they were scanning you in for the early entry part.
Yes. There were certain parts for early entry where you could get in, and parts for regular rope drop where you would be stopped as well. We beelined it, which was our intention. We're like, okay, I don't know if we're going to get to see MuppetVision 3D later in the day, or if we do, it's going to be an extended wait. We can get there, early entry it, knock it out, be one of the first couple shows of the day, and then we can go do some other things. We will have paid our respects to MuppetVision 3D. Well, we had to pivot as we got there because we arrived at MuppetVision 3D. This was an area that they weren't stopping people at. Anybody who was in the park could have walked up to MuppetVision 3D. We went there getting set to get in the line, waiting for the first, what would have been the first show of the day. We thought, okay, great. We're going to make the first show even better. Very little wait time. And found over on the side, there was another line. They were handing out wristbands, and we knew nothing about this. Had no idea. We had no intention of getting wristbands. We asked what it's about. They're like, these are wristbands for the very last show of the day, right, Michelle?
Yes. Like you said, first of all, we knew we wanted to get in there early before it got too busy there. We never really thought about the fact that we could possibly see the very first show of the day, but that was a very lucky happenstance. But you're right. We weren't aware that they were going to be doing the banding, so that was a real plus for us to find out that that's what was going on.
Well, and we also had some concerns because we have something we're going to talk about later going on that evening that was like, okay, yes, we could get these wristbands for that very final show, but will we make it to that very final show? Because we were not going to be in Disney's Hollywood Studios. And this showing was supposed to be at 10 p.m. At least that's when they said you need to line up by. We were going to be in EPCOT during the fireworks time. Can we make it? We weren't sure, but you know what we decided? We had to at least give it a shot, because if we could make it and we didn't bother to get a wristband, we were going to be kicking ourselves for years and
Right.
years and years. So yes, we did. We got the wristbands, got in line for the very first showing of the day, a MuppetVision 3D, and all the emotions already hit that morning. Yes, we're all smiles. If you're seeing this on YouTube, we're all smiles there. But believe me, there were tears. There's always tears for me, but there were more tears than normal, I think, going to see the show a few times.
Right. And I think what was really heart wrenching when we got in and they were about to start the show and they announced this is the last first show.
Yeah.
That
Oh, she's
was-
already getting completely. And I want to say credit to all the Muppet fans there. We're going to talk about how many Muppet fans were there. The park was dominated by Muppet fans that day. They were everywhere. They were wearing their gear. They were out and expressing themselves, and it was fantastic. Cosplay was amazing. Bounding was amazing. It was wonderful to see. And normally I'm one of those people that you get in an attraction and you start riffing off the spiel from any of it. Please don't do that. But this was the one day I'm like, go for it.
Right.
They were reciting all the gags. When Sweetums comes out, they were cheering him loudly, applauding, laughing out loud, singing. It was amazing to experience. And that was right from the very first show of the day. And it carried on throughout the entire afternoon, day, and into the afternoon and evening.
Right. You could, obviously in the theater there, people are coming for this, for that purpose. Even in the queue, just waiting to get in, there was a lot of positive energy. But like you said, throughout the day, just walking through the park, you could feel it no matter what you did. Like we did Indiana Jones, and it was like you could still feel that there was a new energy in the park that day that you don't typically get to feel.
Probably because there were so many people in the park. There was a lot of energy because that's about as full as I've ever seen Disney's Hollywood Studios. I know there have been other days when it's been packed. I imagine the first day, Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, some of you that were there for that at Disney's Hollywood Studios, probably similar. But I at one point the parking lot was as packed as I've ever seen it.
Right. When we were taking the Skyliner and we were watching it at one point, we were watching the last two rows fill up of the entire Hollywood Studios parking lot.
Yeah, I don't believe it ever reached capacity. I don't think that we saw they ever cut people off completely.
But we don't know that.
But we don't know that for sure. But anyway, yeah, got into that first show. It was amazing. Tears were flowing. Fantastic. And that was all we were hoping to do. We were still not sure whether we were going to make that last show, but we have the wristbands in case we can. So we will revisit that later on. Next thing we do, well, we're trying to figure it out. We do want to go see a new show, but we might also do something else because we were there. It had just been rope drop, so actually we were still before rope drop. We were still just a little bit before. We were still just a little bit before rope drop. So we decided we were heading towards the Little Mermaid, a musical adventure. And then we looked over and we could just walk on almost to Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway on the way. And how many times do you get that opportunity? So Michelle's like, let's take advantage of that. And we did, right, Michelle?
Right. Yeah. I mean, that was one where you had to be a resort guest at Scan In. They had already set up a queue, was lined up already for once the park officially opened. But for those guests staying at the resort, you could just walk on. And we really, literally, as Tom mentioned, we walked through the queue very quickly. There wasn't, any delays, and we were on the train.
Right. So we did that. And of course, Mickey and Minnie's always fantastic. Love Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. Then we decided, okay, do we go to Little Mermaid or do we go to the other show, Villains Unfairly Ever After? Well, if you know what's going on with them, the Little Mermaid musical adventure is running continuously. So there's not posted times for it. We looked up and we saw it was 50 minutes to wait for that. 50 to wait for that. Meanwhile, I could actually see the posted time for Villains Unfairly Ever After, which I believe was about the same amount of time away.
Right.
We're like, well, we know that one. Let's go ahead and go to that. So we next headed over to there. Was a lineup there waiting for people to get in, but went in, got into that show. And I thought it was fabulous. I don't know what you thought, Michelle.
Yeah, well, first of all, the queue was very long, so we were concerned, but there were plenty of spaces. I mean, they really have done a great job of making this a theater seating and a lot of space, and we had no problem getting a great seat sort of near the front, middle section. And yes, it was such a creative show. I really thought it was dynamic. You got some touches of so many villains through these magical, if you're watching on YouTube, these are all looking like mirrors, and that you could see images and they interacted in the show. But you also had some live performers come out and do some performances as well. And it was everything that you would hope for a villain show. It was corny, it was over the top, it was comical. It really hit all the great points.
It did. And the way it's laid out, the stage work, again, for those of you see on YouTube, we have the picture up there. You can see how the stage looks. I'm going to zoom in here so you can take a better look at it. You can see it. It's beautiful. The mirrors everywhere are very functional. You get to see, I think every villain in any Disney movie anyway was represented on those. Of course, the big three, and this is a slight spoiler. It's not really a spoiler for the story, but it is if you don't know anything about this. The villains that you see live action are they are Captain Hook, they are Cruella, and they are
Maleficent.
Thank you. I don't know why I was blanking on her. She's right there on my screen. Maleficent. They are the three that do take the stage live action. Otherwise, you see some things going on within the mirrors, including a couple others. They have a little bit bigger parts than some of the others. Basically, the idea is who is the most misunderstood villain. And again, spoiler alert, I'm going to tell you the most misunderstood person on that stage is the poor magic mirror.
Right.
Yeah. But anyway, I loved it. I thought it was a fantastic show. It's a show I'll be going back to regularly as long as it still exists within Disney's Hollywood Studios. The theater, if you don't know where the theater is, it's next to the Rock and Roller Coaster where they had the Lightning McQueen Racing Academy for the last several years. It's right there. And it's really, it is an enjoyable show, and I highly recommend it. It could be a little scary for younger kids, I think. I mean, I don't think it's truly frightening, but it could be a little scary or a little overwhelming. But other than that, I think it's a fantastic, fun, interesting, and wonderful show that you should definitely take in during your visit.
Right. I agree with you 100%. I mean, first of all, if you've been to the Lightning McQueen show, this theater has been very much renovated. It does not seem like that at all. It's a nice theater in the stage area. It's very impressive, first of all. Each of those, like you're saying, each of the characters coming out and the magic mirror himself has such a strong part in the story. Huge part. It's really good. And they also get audience participation and things. And you can, again, feel the energy in the room that people are really enjoying this because, people love villains, right? Yeah. We've talked about that on our recent villain episode. Yeah. But yeah, it was really fun to watch for sure.
And if you do have a favorite villain, you're going to see it somewhere in there. Maybe it's more to the forefront. Maybe it's just little bits of them, but they are, like I said, every villain you can think of. There were some I had forgotten about.
Right.
They show up with them, except for Elsa's father. I don't know why. Other than that,
A lot of people don't know that.
all the other villains are there. Highly recommended. Highly recommended. So we get out of that show. By the way, that's when we had met up with Michelle's niece out there. She joined us while we were in the queue.
Right.
And we had a nice conversation and went and saw the show. Then we beelined it over to, yes, next thing we wanted to do, we want to knock them all out. Let's go ahead and get over to The Little Mermaid, a musical adventure. We got in the queue. We're about midway through, looking good. We're going to get into this show. Waiting there. We waited there for about, I don't know, maybe 10, 15 minutes, something like that. Then there was an announcement. Oh, something's gone wrong. There's a technical issue. This show has been canceled. We don't know when there's going to be another show for sure. You can wait if you want, but we can't be sure. So we sat there for a little bit and we're like, well, you know what? Indiana Jones is about to start. We'll come back to this. It'll be fine. We'll get it later. Let's go head over to Indiana Jones. So we know another classic Disney's Hollywood Studios show. Love Indiana Jones. Always great. And we had a great time seeing that show once again.
Yeah. And being that it was a really hot day, we lucked out on the seats. Thank you, Nicole, for pointing out some seats that were right on the edge of a end of the row, but still very center stage and right under a giant fan that was.
Which they have those giant fans.
Oh
Like,
my
you don't
God.
need any air conditioning in that place because they have these fans that they swear are larger than the airplane that shows up there,
Yeah,
the propeller on the
propeller.
airplane that are blowing on you while you're out there.
Oh yeah, it was great. It was so comfortable. It was like, yeah, I can sit here for this show.
And it was perfect. We got there like with about 5 minutes to spare. It
Yeah,
was great. So we
perfect
did that. Enjoyed that show immensely. It's 35th anniversary of that show, by the way. So that's fantastic and good to see. And that show always is a hit as an Indiana Jones fan. Love seeing it. It's so fun.
Right.
So fun.
Great.
We got done with that. It was around 11:30-ish. You know what? We'd been on the move since 6 a.m. We're a little hungry. Let's go get some food. Where are we going to eat? Well, we ran off a couple possible places thinking of food. We went and stopped to use the restroom. I came out, pulled up the My Disney Experience app, looked over at the Brown Derby for their lounge. The walk-up time, which you can check into right from the app, was 10 minutes. Like 10 minutes, perfect. We love that place. Let's do that. It was actually less than 10 minutes. By the time we were walking from the area over to there, they'd already called our table. We walked right in and sat down, and we decided to head in and do something a little different. We've done, usually when we go there, we get like a nice glass of wine, maybe the charcuterie board, maybe another small plate to share. But we decided it was a very hot day. It was already pushing into the 90s that day. It was going to be, feels like temperature in the hundreds. It's a hot day. Let's try something a little bit different. Now, we did do something traditional, which is, of course, the Brown Derby Cobb salad, traditional. But we also did something different in the fact that we decided to add a margarita flight to it because, yes, that's what you do. That's what you do. And boy, I had not tried their margaritas at the Brown Derby. I will be trying their margaritas regularly after having that flight. I don't know about now. Michelle is not a margarita fan. She will not order a margarita many places. She's not a big fan of tequila, but also I think there's something with the citrus or whatever that's not really your favorite thing. But I think you had a different experience with his margarita flight, right, Michelle?
Right. I mean, I think most margaritas that I've had in the past have been very, very high citrus or sour, and just they're okay. But like if I'm going to spend money or drink alcohol, I want it to be totally pleasurable, and that hasn't been my experience. But the cast member who was serving with us really recommended this, and I thought, all right, let me give it a try, and so happy to have done that. I can't recommend it enough. All three were wonderful.
Yeah, that should tell you a lot about this margarita flight. It sold Michelle, who does not even like margaritas, that she will be getting this more regularly.
Yes.
The margarita flight, I believe it's $19. You can get a single margarita if you just like one. It's $16 for those. I think I'm right on the prices.
16 or $16.50.
Yeah, something along those lines. But they're great. So it consists of a traditional margarita, a pomegranate margarita, and the star of the show, the blood orange margarita, which when you hear blood orange margarita, I'm like, okay, sounds good. But it It is the best margarita. And when you pair it, like it pairs perfectly. I don't know what it is with the flavor profile of that Cobb salad. Like it paired perfectly with that. I loved it.
Yeah, I agree with you totally. And again, I had some reservations. She said that was the cast member said that was her favorite and highly recommended it. In fact, she had recommended if we only wanted to get one, that would be the one she'd recommend. And, like over at the festival, one of the festivals at EPCOT, and I don't remember which one, but they typically have a mimosa flight, and one of them has a blood orange mimosa, which is good, but of the other mimosas, it's not the star. In this case, it was the star.
And that was before I paired it with the salad. I liked it the best before I even took a bite of the salad. And then I took a bite of the salad and had a sip of it, and it was like, well, it just sang.
Right.
It was beautiful. Loved it. Will be definitely, whether I get the flight or just that blood orange margarita in the future, it will definitely be happening. But salad was great. I think your only issue with the salad was maybe it was overdressed for how you like it. I think you would ask for the dressing on the side.
Right. Yeah. I wish I had thought about that. Yeah. And that's me in general. I don't like a ton of dressing on my salads. And so I think that was my only issue with the salad, that it felt heavily dressed.
Always recommended to do that, especially if you're not a big fan of a lot of dressing. To go ahead, when it's healthier, but two, it's just always a good idea. Probably should have done that myself, although I like a little more dressing than Michelle. I thought the salad was perfect. It's a classic. The Cobb salad at Brown Derby is a classic, historic, back to the Hollywood, the actual Hollywood Brown Derby, not the mock-up in Disney's Hollywood Studios. I mean, they've had that forever, and it's a classic, and for a good reason, because it's delicious.
Right. And it's easy to eat. It's all chopped up for you, so it's not like you have to be cutting your lettuce and stuff.
You just mix it. It's all separated, and you just kind of mix it up so you can get a bite of it. I mean, or you can keep it separate, I guess, but it's better mixed up so you can get a little bit bite of everything.
Yeah, the blend
every time. And perfect on all this. The margaritas, this salad was perfect on what was a very hot day.
Right. Yeah. Agreed.
So after that, we decided, you know what? Okay, we've gone to. By the way, I think we did check in on Little Mermaid. It was not open yet. We went into the Indiana Jones. We went and had lunch. Let's go check on the Little Mermaid, a musical adventure again. Walked up to it. There was no one inside except for cast members telling everybody, we don't know. We don't know when it's opening. It's not ready yet. It's not happening. We're like, oh, okay. I guess we'll go do something else. Come back. Yeah, go ahead, Michelle.
Well, the one thing that I was a little surprised at is it wasn't showing on the app as closed. So the only way we could find out was actually going there.
Yeah. So we went there and nothing. So we went off like, what are we going to do now? Well, let's go head over. Star Tours was a 5-minute wait. I guess because everybody was heading to MuppetVision right next to it. Star Tours was a 5-minute wait. Basically, nearly walked on. I think a few people got in ahead. Maybe it was about 10 minutes, but it was very short. Walked on, did Star Tours, amazing. Looked over to the MuppetVision courtyard, the Muppet courtyard there, and it was packed. Everybody decked out, taking photos in front of the fountain. Heather Henson, the daughter of Jim Henson, was there greeting guests. Long line for that. We didn't go because of that. But people, queue extended to Star Wars Galaxy's Edge for MuppetVision 3D. Happy that we had already seen it, but happy for everybody there that was getting their chances to experience during the day. I know our friend Adam was there. I guess he saw it like 10 times during that day, which good, because if there's been a more vocal person about MuppetVision 3D, I don't know who it was. So I'm so happy he got to see it, but so many people got to experience it. It was great, but it was packed. We headed back over. Okay, like we've checked this out. We went and did Star Tours. Let's go see if Little Mermaid's open now. Went back. Nope, not yet. Not yet. All right. It was getting hot. We had been up since
getting hot. It was
hot. We've been up since before 6 a.m. I think it's time for us to we had some lunch and a couple drinks. I think it's time for us to take a little break, get away. Our hotel room was open. Let's go ahead. So we parted ways with your niece, Nicole, after a fun morning and early afternoon, and decided to hop the Skyliner back to the Riviera to get a little rest in. We were staying in a duo studio at the Riviera. First time we've stayed in duo studios at the new Island Tower.
Right.
at the Polynesian Resort, but we had not stayed at a duo studio at the Riviera. Michelle, what is your thoughts on the duo? I think I know. Let's keep it positive. Your thoughts on the duo studio at the Riviera?
I think they serve a great function. And for us, for what we were doing with a very short trip, I think it was ideal for a location. Like I was glad we didn't use more points and stay someplace else that was maybe less convenient because of that. And considering we made these reservations pretty short term, it was lucky that we did get that. So I think convenience wise, it was a great room. It's pretty. We were on a high floor. I think we were not the top floor, but the
second. We were on the seventh floor, which is the second to the top. Yeah,
right. Which was great. We had a wonderful view from the balcony there. And I think the way the duo studio rooms are kind of on a corner part of the building, that your balcony is very private. Like in some of the other resorts, when you're in a balcony, the person in the next room has a balcony adjoining yours. And yes, you might have a platform changing, but it's not always as private, or you can hear each other here because of the directions that they have them. They're outward. I don't know how to explain it better, but anyways, it's a more private balcony
it's
setting.
Kind of because it's on a corner and it's rounded. So like there's a balcony facing one way, and because it faces a balcony kind of on another angle, and another balcony on another angle. That's where all those duo studios are kind of on the corners there as you're like near the Skyliner area. And yeah, I mean, that with the balcony view was fantastic. We had a great view of the Skyliner and the lakes and some of the Caribbean beach resort. If we had been there for fireworks, we would have actually had a pretty good view over at EPCOT, because we could see pretty much all of World Showcase, Spaceship Earth, all that around there. It would have been great. We weren't there for that. We'll talk about that in a little bit. I will say that if you're going to spend a lot of time in the parks, and you're just looking for a place to crash, not a terrible place. It's very functional with the Skyliner right there. It's a great resort. It's one of our favorites. Absolutely great. It's great. The bathroom is huge. It's a really, really big bathroom for this size room. That's great about it. However, I don't feel, my problem with it more than anything else is that I don't feel it uses the space really well, because the room is fairly small. I mean, when you have the bed, it's a Murphy bed. So just think about, some of the rooms where they have the couch that becomes the Murphy bed. That's all you have to sleep on. So it's the couch and the Murphy bed. When the Murphy bed is down, you're kind of skirting around it because it's fairly tight in that space. There's not a lot of other room to roam. Yet the bathroom is enormous. Like, they don't use the space really well, because the bathroom feels almost as big as the room itself. It's not, but it feels almost that big. Like, it feels like they could have taken a few more square feet out of that area and added it to make that room a little larger. But that being said, you're in a great resort. If you're spending a lot of time in the parks, it's not a bad way to go.
Right. Yeah. I think part of it is we've been spoiled with so many of the other deluxe studios that we've stayed in, even at that resort, that, like you said, the use of space, it was a little disjointed. Like, even what you normally get as like a wet bar, you had some of the supplies, like the toaster, and some like paper towel and things like that was in one bookcase, and another bookcase had the coffee. So it was a little, and the coffee one wasn't near where the sink was. So it was a little disjointed in that. But I think my overall, if I had to criticize, I think the one thing is they really didn't have a lot of Disney art in the room. They had one piece that was on the wall.
And then when he fell down the Murphy bed.
When the Murphy bed was pulled down, but not when it was up, which most of them have now, the two different contrasting pieces of art, the one when the bed is collapsed and one when it's open. So it was beautiful, and it was clean, and it felt comfortable in that regard. It just didn't shout Disney.
Mm-hmm. Which, I mean, if you go through the Riviera, there's great artwork throughout it. I don't think it always shouts Disney at you. I think this resort was kind of creative before. There's been a more change recently where they're adding much more Disney into the rooms, because I think they've asked people, and people have said, we want Disney in our rooms.
Right.
So they've been adding a lot more. If you don't, this might be the great place for you. But there is still plenty of Disney throughout the resort. Just,
Right.
I don't know if it was the wall space, because they also have to have the television there. There's not a lot of wall space there. And along with the bookcases and everything else, there isn't as much place to put it, but I still feel I agree with you that they could have put a little bit more into it.
And they had some really impressive touches, like the chandelier in the bedroom was, in the main room was beautiful. A glass chandelier. It's, kind of nice.
I'm glad we got to experience it. I don't think we'll be doing it again.
Right.
You never know. I'm not going to never say never. It was not a terrible experience. It's just not necessarily for us, I think. I found the Duo, and we weren't even huge fans of the Duo studio at the Island Tower, but the space was used much better within that smaller. And again, these are rooms, they're Duo studios because Duo 2. It's only 2 guests that are supposed to be in that room. You're not supposed to be trying to fit a whole family in that room.
Right.
So yes, okay, not that much space in it, understandable, but it still felt like there could have been a little more room to roam within.
Right. I mean, I think with that, for us, again, we do spend time in the room. We're usually back at the room fairly early when you consider what most things are going on at the parks and stuff. So I think we tend to spend more time in a resort room. And that's why I think this one is better suited for people who are just, like you said, going to crash, you know.
Although we spent less time in this room than we expected, but we did at this point, as we mentioned, we were out on the road, 6 a.m. We were pretty wiped out from the heat, from a couple drinks, a little food, everything.
Yeah. And it felt good to getting a shower and getting all that sweat washed off.
So we got a little bit of a nap in. Michelle, a little bit. I think I crashed much more than Michelle, but we got a bit of a nap in. Got up, and then we decided, what do we need to do next? Well, we still need to go see that Little Mermaid show. So we were going to try and do that. Michelle, we were both feeling a bit hungry. We knew what we were getting at GO82 was going to be different. We'll discuss that in a little bit. It wasn't going to be the full-fledged food, like you're going to have a full meal, more snacky stuff. So we kind of need a little something. So you're like, well, let's go ahead and go to Disney's Hollywood Studios. It's an easy Skyliner hop before we go to EPCOT, and we'll see if we can knock out that Little Mermaid attraction. So we get there, get into the queue for the Little Mermaid. It is open. Yes, it is open, but unfortunately, the line was very long. It said 50 minutes, and we were there, and we're gauging on it. And Michelle went and asked a cast member, like, from where we're standing, what is the likelihood we're going to make it into the next show? Because we have a reservation for a certain time period at EPCOT. Are we going to make it? Yes, we would make it, but is it going to be like an unnecessary rush? Plus, we're trying to get some food in us and everything else before we get there. They were like, I don't know. I don't think so. And sure enough, we found out at a different point, no, that would not have happened. So after sitting there for a little bit, we're like, you know what? Let's call it. Let's head off to EPCOT and go ahead and just get some food. We stopped the fish and chips. We were going through the International Gateway. Fish and chips right there. Fish and chips, always a hit. Mobile order, perfect. There was a table right there. Got that and enjoyed that. It's a nice fish and chips.
Yeah. It was. Sometimes the pieces are larger than others, and I think this one we were very fortunate to have more larger pieces.
Right. So. Other funny story about this is that, and while we gone back to the room, we received a direct message from a friend of ours, Natalie, who we've been trying to connect with for a few years now, usually at Run Disney events and the parks around them. And for some reason, we just keep missing each other all the time, missing each other. And she was like, surprise, I'm here. We're having a girls' weekend. We're here. Would love to meet up with you guys. And we're like, oh, great. But we have some things we have planned. But if we can do it, we're going to be here and we're going to be here. If it works out, great. So we went and got the fish and chips. We sent her a message saying, hey, we're at the park. We're heading over towards Spaceship Earth. If you're around, let's connect. Walked over. I did not hear back from her. Walked over there, went into a shop, used the restroom, came out, and without still a response, there she was right in front of Spaceship Earth. So we called out to her and had a nice first meeting with Natalie. who is, by the way, one of the hosts of the Stride Sisters podcast. You should check out that show. Great show if you love Run Disney, or if you're interested in all and possibly taking on Run Disney. Great show, and she's a fantastic person. It was fun meeting her and her friends.
Yeah, it really was. I mean, again, we were commenting how you couldn't have tried to plan it better, that we just ended up in the same part of the park, same place at the same time. Like you said, we had been kind of in general communications, but no times or specific location meetups planned. We just happened to be on the same spot at the same time. So that was so fun.
Yeah. So it was very random. Got together with her. Like I said, had a nice little, and it wasn't a long conversation, but it was about 5-10 minutes out there. And then it's like, okay, we got a reservation we need to get to. So we started walking over to GO82. And by luck, they were trying to get in there too. They were trying to do a walk up. Unfortunately, they didn't make it for a walk up, but it's always worth trying, because you never know. It's always worth asking just to see if you can get in. Unfortunately, they didn't make it in, but it was so great to see them. Had a nice talk with them. Good to meet them all, and moved on. We checked in for our reservation. They knew it was us because we were the last table or two to show up, apparently. We thought we were there early. Apparently, some other people were even more excited than we were, because they were there before us. But that was all great. Checked in, waited downstairs, and then headed up to GO82, which is beautiful, Michelle.
Yeah, agreed. So first of all, because I don't think we've really mentioned it specifically, but the reservation we had here was for the firework experience.
Yes.
So
it wasn't the standard reservation.
It wasn't the standard reservation. We had intentionally did that because we did want to give this a try.
For you.
Right.
We did this.
For the
we
children.
splurged on this for you.
But anyways, it's just, you could just tell again when there's a new lounge, especially, but new restaurant, you can always tell with the cast members, they're excited. I mean, this had only been open, I think, 3 nights, 4 nights.
Yeah,
maybe.
it was like
very
on the
new.
5th of June, or maybe the 4th of June. We were there on the 7th.
Yeah. So it had only been open a few days prior, when they first opened, and everybody's just so wonderfully warm and inviting, easy to talk to, fun to talk to, and they have a nice kind of process. Like, we checked in and they're like, okay, it's a little crowded in the waiting area, so this is more space down here, so they really help guide you along and point some great things out as they're doing it.
And we met some nice cast members while we were just sitting out there and just talking with them, and that was really fun, and it was great. Eventually we got to go up, get in the waiting area. They gradually were bringing people into their tables. I think everybody that was there at that point was for the fireworks experience, just like we were. It's pricey. This experience is pricey. Just that's, part of this going in. We want to let you know about that. And we're going to tell you whether or not we felt it was worth it. Yeah, we're going to tell you whether we felt it was worth it as we go on. But we're happy that we got to try it.
Right. Now, when you first, again, as they're bringing you in, what's really great is this place has so many amazing nods and things built into it that just shout Spaceship Earth, shout Epcot, very nostalgic type elements throughout it. And they really help highlight that so you don't miss things, which I thought was a great, like sometimes when, somebody's walking you to your table or whatever, they're just walking you through. Here they, stopped and made sure they pointed out some things.
Right. And I'm going to show you one of them here. I'm not sure it's going to come up in this picture that you're going to be able to see it. I wish I had taken a better picture of it, but for those of you on YouTube that are seeing this picture, you can see Michelle watch by that amazing Spaceship Earth geodesic wall. That's fantastic there. But if you look at the ground, there's a little sparkly in the ground there. So they told us walking in that was where World Celebration is now. There used to be this sparkly ground out there. They'd actually taken it and placed it within this lounge to kind of have that nostalgia, have that little moment, that little piece of what you remember about older Epcot within this space,
right?
On the way into the lounge,
right? Just as you're entering, and like he pointed out to us at the time, the pattern of the sparkles was going along with the beat of the music. He said, but sometimes when it's just kind of like guiding you, it's going in and a pattern that kind of helps walk you through in
Mhm.
that direction, but like as Tom's mentioning, this hallway that you're going through inside the lounge has that wall that very much is the same pattern as Spaceship Earth. So you feel very immersed into this experience, that it is a special, really higher level of lounge.
It is beautiful. It's well decked out. In the waiting area, there's some wonderful photos or artwork of Spaceship Earth there. And you go inside. You can see, if you're watching this on YouTube, the picture on the right there, I have all these lamps. You can see it from the outside too, and you can see it from the concept artwork and some of the artwork that has been posted on Disney Parks blog. These lamps that are basically points of light that kind of look like Spaceship Earth, that are all over the place. And from the right angle, there are many, many hidden Mickeys within this because of the way they're round and different sizes and
Right.
everything. But it's beautiful. The space is beautiful. The bar is fantastic. I would be happy to sit at the bar sometime
Mhm.
and enjoy a small plate and a cocktail up there as well, or a glass of wine. Great. What did you think about the layout of the lounge?
Yeah, I think it was beautiful. I mean, there's not a ton of seating, so you can definitely understand how it is challenging to get a reservation in there. It is, you know, it's small, so it's not, you don't feel crowded per se, but it's just that it is a smaller space,
Mhm.
and it just feels special.
Mhm.
From when you first walk in, like I said, how everything looks and the flow, it really feels like a special place
Mhm.
that you're going to experience.
So we got in there, we're guided to our seat. They have some reserved seats in the middle front by the windows for this party. There's a few by the window in the middle, and then a few just a little bit back. We noted where I sat that there was a post in the way, like I wouldn't be able to see the fireworks. In another table, it opened up, and we asked about it. It was by the window. And another party actually asked about it as well. But it wasn't the best seat to see the fireworks. So we decided to stay, and I just moved my chair over to see the fireworks.
Right. There was somebody there, I believe he seemed like, I don't know if he was a maitre d or
A
manager or
host,
what.
or yeah.
Yeah, somebody, and he came and explained to us that when when they first opened, they had, because there's like 5 or 6 large windows, floor to ceiling windows.
Really large windows at the front.
Right. At the front. And that's where they had originally had everybody who was there for the firework experience. So you had like that front row viewing area in essence. However, they realized several of the windows on the ends were not giving you the best view.
Mhm.
And that's why he even said, if you want to go check out the view and see if it's better, he says, but what we've come to realize in just a short time is these closer to the center front tables, even though you're not at the window, are a better view of the fireworks.
And we agreed on, we stayed where we are. And like I said, I just shifted my seat over, and it was
Right.
fine. I had a great view of the fireworks from there. So here's a look for those of you on YouTube, what greets you, the menu, the food and some of the drinks that are involved in it. What you get for this is, one, the guaranteed seat as close as you can be for the fireworks viewing. Free flowing booze, which I'll talk about in a little bit, which may be the best part of this. But also you get a tasting tower of savory dishes, a plate of sweet dishes as well. I'm going to give you a little glimpse of those for those of you on YouTube. You can see them here. So they are like a pimento cheese macaron. They are some deviled eggs with duck prosciutto, which were amazing. Wonderful charcuterie plate with the cured meats were spectacular, fantastic. Some of the best cured meats I've enjoyed. And then
even the cheese.
The cheese,
like from Switzerland, was one of them.
Yeah. All phenomenal, all great, small, but great. And then for the dessert plate, you received a couple of chocolate dipped strawberries with a little gold leaf on there. They were great. A couple of really nice bonbons, a dark chocolate one. I think it was a dark chocolate, and what was that? Was that raspberry?
Mm-hmm.
And then a milk chocolate and bourbon. I had, you took the dark chocolate.
Right.
I took the milk chocolate. It was wonderful.
Yeah, and they're from a local Chocolatier.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And probably the best dessert that was there was this layered cake that you can see a little bit of here in the picture if you're watching on YouTube. Interesting about it is that it's this layered cake, and they told us it's 11 layers because each layer represents one of the countries within a world showcase. The pavilions there, and it was light, it was tasty, it was wonderful, all great, but I don't think it wasn't a star. I feel like there's better food to be had within Geo 82 than, even though these were all good, than anything that was on this tasting tower and the dessert plate.
Yeah. I mean, a couple things, my observations. I thought all the food was really impressive. It's not your typical food that you would have anywhere. You can't order these dishes, or they're not on the menu for just going into Geo 82. These are designed specifically for that. You could tell there was a lot of thought into the process of what they served you, even down to the point of some pickles that were the recipe of the head chef's grandmother
Right.
passed down, and they were delicious.
They were
They were
fantastic.
really
You
delicious.
like pickles? They were great.
Right. I mean, I think my observation was there was two of us, so we were both paying, and we got the one tower, and for the most part, we could try one thing of each. I think if you're a party of 3, you score a little bit more because you get 2 towers, so you have a little bit more food.
Right.
If you're looking at food quantities, that's the only thing. If you're 2 or 4, you're going to only get a tower for 2 people, but for 3 you get 2 towers.
While all this was great, we were glad we had a little bit something else to eat. We just split a fish and chips earlier. We were glad we had a little bit more food before we got in there, because this was not going to fill you up by any stretch of the imagination.
Right. I mean, perhaps you could ask for more food. I know somebody near us asked for more of some bread that went
to
with
go
the
along with the cheese
charcuterie
and everything.
Right.
Which a lot of times with charcuterie board you can do.
You can do that. But yeah, you're not going there to have a meal, per se. It's just to have very small tastings of this.
What you are going to go there to do, and you should do, is enjoy the free-flowing champagne, because it's a fantastic champagne.
Yes.
Really, really good. What is it? It was a Cunard. I'm sorry. Let me see if I can zoom in it, because the name escapes me right now. A Cunard Duchesne was the name of the champagne. Our server, Edgar, who was fantastic,
Right.
compared it to like a Veuve Clicquot, along that line, a Tanger, so kind of like that. And it was fabulous, delicious. They serve them in these wonderful Spaceship Earth champagne glasses. So fabulous. We enjoyed the champagne. I enjoyed it a lot. Like, I had like 4 glasses of champagne, and it's good champagne because I had like 4 glasses of champagne and I did not have a hangover the next day, which usually champagne, if it's mid-level,
right,
it'll knock you out. But the flavor was great. And also the effervescence was great. It's how a great champagne. That was an excellent champagne. And they keep pouring. Your glass gets partway empty. They're coming back and pouring you more. It's great.
Right. And I noticed that even though we did have a server at our area, that one of the adjacent area server, saw like one of my champagne glasses getting low, and she came over right away and poured some more. So they are very attentive. Very fun to talk to. It was fun hearing that he had just transported over from Batu for this job because he worked at Olga's Cantina.
That's quite a hyperspace journey.
Yes. But yeah, it was really, like I said, everything is well thought out, to, like you said, the champagne glasses that are more the traditional old fashioned champagne glass shape versus a flute, but that they had the design in there of how it was made to look like Spaceship Earth.
Yeah, it was fantastic, and one of the highlights of the night. The other highlight of the night is that's not the only thing you get alcohol wise, because yes, you can also order. They have 2 specialty cocktails. It is a golden old fashioned, which if you're watching us on YouTube, you can see the photos here. Or I think it was called a shimmering margarita. So Michelle had another margarita.
No, after having 3 earlier.
She had another margarita that night. I had the old fashioned because Michelle's not the biggest bourbon fan, which neither am I, but I wasn't going to turn down the opportunity to try this when it's included in the price, with a very expensive price. I'm going to get it. And we tasted both drinks. I enjoyed both drinks. What did you think about? I know you had the margarita, and you're not a margarita fan. What did you think of this one?
Right. I thought it was good, and I tried your bourbon drink. It was good. I love that they had the ice cube
Yeah,
that
obviously,
is
I don't know if you can see it here, but the photo I'm putting up on YouTube right now, you can sort of make it out. Zoom in a little bit.
yeah, but there's
It's the ice cube has in the middle of it Spaceship Earth, basically
right, the
designed in
design
the
of
middle of the
Spaceship
ice
Earth.
cube. Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
right. With the cocktails, if from the previous shot, if you saw, they're not really full, like filling to the top. They're full size glasses, but they're not filling them to the top. So, which I thought was good because then, if you decided you wanted to just stick with the champagne, then you could. They also had a non-alcoholic cocktail that meant to try, but slipped my
Sorry,
mind.
there was alcohol.
I
I'm not
know.
going to get the non-alcoholic one. By the way, look at these glasses. They're going to come up again here in a little bit.
Now, the other thing about this that Edgar pointed out to us is the color of the bourbon drink
Oh, yes.
represents the original artwork,
The original coloring.
coloring and arts, concept art for Spaceship Earth, whereas the margarita carries the color of the current Spaceship Earth.
So they're themed very much.
Right.
So. And by the way, we did see some other people. Like I saw somebody get a beer. Just because those were on the menu, it didn't mean you couldn't at least ask. Again, it's always good to ask if there's something else you could have as well. But those were the ones they specifically named, and we wanted to try them, and we did. The only reason I only had one old fashioned is because I knew there was something coming up that we needed to handle, and I'd already had 4 glasses of champagne. So Michelle did have a second margarita.
Yeah, but I didn't drink
But
this.
you didn't.
Yeah, I only had
like
a couple.
glass and a half of champagne.
Yeah. Just a few sips of the second one, but I didn't also have as much of the champagne. Although like you said, it was amazing champagne. Definitely great quality.
So we did see the fireworks. What did you think about getting to see the fireworks there, the view, and everything involved with being there for that?
I have a lot of thoughts on this. So first of all, I think because when we originally made the reservation and they were saying everybody would be window side and we didn't get that, it was in the back of my head, oh, I'm still now watching this behind somebody else. But that being said, I was glad that they had given the thought to say, okay, you're not going to get the best view if you are sitting in one of the other areas. I think one of the things to confirm you're more likely to get a window seat is being a party of 4.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you're a party of 2 or 3, you're.
Although we did see a party of 4 that did not.
Right. There was only one, but the other ones.
And we did see a party of 2 that had the best spot.
Right. So, but I think you have a better chance that way. The other thing is going to this, you got to realize this area is not the best to watch the fireworks anyways. You're going for more of an experience of being in the lounge, trying these very sophisticated small plate offerings and the alcohol or non-alcoholic drink that goes with it. You're going for that because even though we did get to see the fireworks fine and they pipe in the music and everything, again, if you want to see that show, that's not the place to go. Like if you've never seen the nighttime show, Luminous or whatever they're going to have, maybe if they change it again, that's not the best location. But when you're in that lounge, that you are getting the best view if you're doing the package.
Right. So yeah, I thought actually to me the view was better than I expected at the fireworks. I thought I mean, you can't see a lot of the other stuff, the water displays and some of the other things that go on during that show of Luminous. But the music does play in there. They do dim the lights, contrary to what some other websites want to tell you. They do dim the lights, and you can see pretty well. It was better than I expected. It's not, if you really want to see the show, it's not the place to see the show.
Right.
But it was better than I expected. But I enjoyed it. We had a great seat. It was enjoyable. Now, as far as value for this thing, it is not a good value, in my opinion. Just everybody, it's subjective to everybody. To me, You may think it's a great value. It was not a great value to me. It's a bit too pricey for what you get for this. I think if they knocked it down 30, $40, it'd be about perfect.
Mhm.
You do get value in the amount of alcohol. If you really want to go crazy with the alcohol, you can,
Right.
because you do get value in the alcohol. I think the food, I would have rather sample some of the other dishes that they have at GO82. The fireworks seating is great, but you could see the fireworks from a lot of places. And that's what I'm going to personally suggest to you. Instead of trying to book this package, unless you want to be sure you have one of those spots right up front and some of this stuff intrigues you. And again, it's not, no night there is going to be cheap unless you decide
Right.
to have, well, no night's going to be cheap. Even if you have one drink and one dish, it's still pretty pricey. No nights there's going to be cheap, but you can get it, cut down the price a little bit, have bigger selection of what you want to drink and eat. And you can stay there, they say, as long as you want. So, if you can get a reservation around 8-ish, 7:30-ish, 8-ish, and just sit and enjoy and have some conversation. By the way, it's another thing about this place. Conversation's tough. It's very
Yes.
loud. It's very loud in there. That was one of the difficulties we had with it. But that's the better way to go. Try and get that other reservation. That would be my personal suggestion to you. But again, value is subjective. I will not ever tell you that, if you want to pay that price, that's the wrong thing to do. This is just from my point of view. I don't think we'll be paying that price again for that experience.
Right. I mean, a couple things. One thing in terms of like what you're suggesting, I agree. You can get a reservation in there, for later in the day and stay and still watch. They're not going to, shoo you away. I mean, if they sit you in one of those seats where when it gets close to the time for the people who are going to come in for the package, they will move you. But that being said, there's also some tables, some seating in there that you won't be facing the windows. So keep that in mind that, we're not saying you'll guaranteed get a view. You can stay there during the fireworks show, but you might actually be facing opposite. You might be facing the bar, for
Right.
example. And if you're at the bar, you could probably turn around. But there are some tables that are specifically facing the bar that you wouldn't be able to see,
Right.
but not many.
Right.
And I agree with you in terms of value. I think most things we have done with Disney, whether we've done it through the parks, through the cruise line, through things like D23 or whatever, and we've paid higher prices, there's been a big wow. And I don't think this had that same wow. I think it was nice, it was elegant, but I don't think it had the wow factor that you usually get when you're paying, upwards of $200 a person.
I think I would have liked to have seen on the tasting tray, like all those dishes, everything they put out was fantastic, but a little bit more of a sampling of some of the stuff that they actually have like throughout the day, like the funky flatbread and some other things. I would have liked some samples of those things, but that's just me. And again, I just think it's a little bit pricey. It's the value for booze is great because if you like champagne, if you like good champagne and you like some of these cocktails, it's great. But you couple it with the view and everything else, and knowing the fact that it's one thing if you can't get in there during fireworks time, except for to do this package, you can. Now, I say you can stay as long as you want. I don't think you're checking in at 2 p.m. and staying until 9 p.m. fireworks there. Yeah. That's probably not happening. But you can stay if you probably have a 7:30 or reservation or whatever there, and make it and stick it through fireworks. You just may have to keep buying things. Just know that. I don't think that if you're just sitting there sipping water, they're going to let you stay there.
Right. Yeah, that I agree.
I don't think they'll rush you off, but at the same point, I think they kind of like,
right.
You should go.
Yeah. Now, I mean, I think for some people, this is very special. I think if you had a very special date, you wanted it to be a romantic situation, I think this would be a great way to do a proposal happening there. I could see that happening during this. Or to celebrate something. I mean, in essence, we kind of counted this as part of our 20th anniversary celebration because we did have some other reservations we had to cancel. Right. So we just kind of pivoted to this. But I agree with you. It wasn't enough to say, yes, I got to do this again. Whereas there are some things that cost at least that much, if not more, that I would say every time I want to experience.
We're not afraid to spend exorbitant amounts of money on experiences from
Right.
time to time. We do that. We cut back in other things to be able to splurge on some things that we
Right.
really want to do. It just wasn't for us as far as everything
Right.
involved.
I mean, I think if one of the things in which they wouldn't do is if only the people who were there for the package were there,
Mhm.
then that might, because then you would have felt, okay, we're an exclusive party.
Right.
But it just felt like everybody else was there too.
Right.
And so where was the
Yeah.
exclusiveness of this other than these, whatever, 6 or 8
Right.
tables?
And I'm not going to say I didn't enjoy it. I did. I
Right.
enjoyed it immensely. It just, for the price point, like I said, if you knocked about $30 off of that, we'd do it again. But for the price point it's at right now, it's a little bit more than we like to do. But we will be going back to GO82 because we
Right.
did like most everything about it. And we do want to try some of the other dishes, some of the other drinks that
Yes.
they have, all the other stuff going on. So we will be going to GO82. Now, back to what we were discussing earlier. Now, we weren't sure. We got those wristbands from MuppetVision 3D for that last show, but we weren't sure we were going to make it. For one thing, we spent an exorbitant amount of money on this package, and we're like, okay, we don't want to cut that short because we knew it was going to be pricey, and we don't know how long it was going to extend, what was going to go on after the fireworks were done, which was from 9 to about 9:20, I want to say.
Right.
Even if we leave right when the fireworks are done, can we make it to Disney's Hollywood Studios for EPCOT? We weren't sure about any of those things.
Right. And it's funny because when we first checked in at GO82, the person there at the hostess there checking in, he said, "I see you have wristbands for MuppetVision." He goes, "I'm going to hold good thoughts and feel optimistic that you're going to make it." But we all discussed that it was not going to possibly be able to be accomplished.
One thing we decided during the day is like, we were, as much as we really, 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 really wanted to see the final show MuppetVision 3D, because we could not back out, because we were spending so much money on this, we were not going to sacrifice this. Luckily for us, that once the fireworks are done, you could have hung out longer. You could have enjoyed some time. They did offer you another drink if you wanted one. You could have enjoyed some more. But we decided we were done. We have something else to get to. Let's get out of there.
Right. And they weren't, although they offered another drink, they weren't trying to necessarily say you could get more food or
Right.
even order food, because I think the kitchen had already been closed. It was just, if you want one more, the cocktails or something before you leave. And they were pushing us out though too, because
Right. No, we're not in anybody's stretch of the imagination.
in fact, Edgar said, sit back and relax, let the crowds leave before you
Right.
actually leave. It's just that you weren't going to have anything else provided,
which we might have done, except for we had something to get to. So going back to this picture of Michelle in the hall, we beelined it out of there, but we had to stop on the way out, because remember those glasses that we showed you earlier where we had the cocktail served in? I don't know if they're still doing this, but at least for the first few days of this, they were giving you out. We each received a glass, which made it a little bit better value.
Yes.
One of those glasses on our way out, which was really, really nice, and a nice treat at the end of it. But that wasn't going for just us for the fireworks package. That was going for anybody who was visiting GO82 during that time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, everybody was people were walking out when we were sitting down there. Received those as well.
That's
Remember,
right, yeah.
she told us, she's like, "Don't worry, you're gonna get one of these too." We didn't know idea what it was.
Right.
And we're like, "Great, we have free stuff."
Yeah.
And that's what it is. It's one of those. We each have one of those glasses.
Yeah, which is nice, because it's a nice heavy crystal. The bottom of it is, and we were going to try to show it to you, but when we brought it out, it's really hard to see because it's clear glass. But the bottom of it is like raised pattern that looks like this pattern on Spaceship Earth, and it is engraved saying GO82. So really nice.
Really nice glasses. Again, they were just giving those out. I don't know if they're still giving them out or if they've stopped giving them out, but they were giving them out to people early on. Excuse me. So we grabbed those. That made another complication, by the way, which I'll get to in a bit. So we beelined out of there, started heading towards the exit, towards the international gateway of EPCOT, which we were swimming upstream because everybody at the same time was leaving Luminous, going the other way. So we're swimming upstream, trying to get through that. Finally get to the international gateway, get through. Over on the right, there's the Skyliner. It's got a huge wait time. Over on the left, there's the friendship boats. not as long a wait, but still a pretty long wait. And those friendship boats stop at various different locations. And so we decided, you know what? We've done this. We're Run Disney participants. We've gone between these two parks before. Time to put our best Run Disney in action. And we didn't run, but boy, did we walk at a fast pace from Epcot all the way to Disney's Hollywood Studios. It's about 2 miles, a little over 2 miles when you talk about all the way from Spaceship Earth to MuppetVision 3D.
Yeah, I know. It was one of those things too, because during the day, once in a while, we were talking about it, like what would be an efficient way? Like, should we park at Epcot and then we can go park over at Hollywood Studios? Although when we were taking the Skyliner back to our resort and saw that Hollywood Studios was packed, we thought, oh, that might be tough to do. And I don't know if it would necessarily save time. But that was an option in addition to, one of the other transportations. And it wasn't until we were walking that I even said, you know what, we could have splurged on a minivan, which would pick you up.
We already splurged enough. I did not need to spend any more money that night.
It's kind of like door to door. They go to the resort and pick you up and take you directly to the front of the line. So it would have saved time for sure. But at that point, to try to arrange that, we knew we would be waiting anyway. So our only option was by foot to really, I remember so many times thinking, are we going to make it? Keep looking at the watch. Are we going to make it? Because we also knew we had to go through security as well. So.
Yes. And which was complicated even more because now suddenly we have 2 glasses in our backpack that were like, is that going to be a problem when we get? Michelle had already gotten stopped through security when we went through Epcot for some reason in her backpack, but she still doesn't know why.
Right. They didn't even know why.
Right. Is this going to complicate things? But yeah, we were trying. I'm watching the watch. We're walking fast, like we're walking at it may have been a 14-minute pace. Like we were booking it there. It's hot. We're sweating. We're getting there. We get close. I can see Disney's Hollywood Studios in the distance. I'm like, we're almost there. She's like, I don't know if we're there. I'm like, we're almost there. We're gonna make it. We got through with about 8 minutes to spare before 10 o'clock, and whizzed through security. Security didn't stop at glasses. Whatever stopped Michelle earlier didn't bother him this time. Whizzed through. They when we got there, they're like, "So you're gonna make it. It's okay. It's gonna be good." We still beeline just the same all the way over to the MuppetVision, the Muppet Courtyard, and that's where we had to figure out. Okay, there's still people lining up for MuppetVision 3D, and there's the wristbands. We found a cast member. They directed us to where we go, and we could finally take a break because yes, we did make it to the line. Waiting to go into that very last showing of MuppetVision 3D adventure. A mission accomplished.
Yes, but it was scary along the way. Like I said, I think I mentioned to you when we were doing it at least 3 or 4 times. Do you think we're going to make it? Do you think we're going to make it? Because I kept looking up and it seemed so far in the distance. And I was like, oh, I just don't know. And like you said, with the challenge with glassware, because I know like there's certain areas, like I know like at Disneyland, at downtown Disney, you cannot have glassware going in. And I'm not sure the rules over at Disney Springs, but it was just like that was one of the things too. Will we get to security and be stopped right at that moment because you have no place to put these glasses?
Right. So we got there just a little bit before 10, which they said to line up by 10. Great. We got there and then we waited for half an hour. We could have made it there. I don't know how it would have been to try and get into the park after 10 p.m. But we had actually plenty of time, which is good because we needed to cool down a bit because we've been trekking it a bit, relax. But it was just, again, another amazing, wonderful feeling to be there with all these Muppet fans for this. Everybody was high-fiving each other and people were singing songs. And it was an amazing, amazing energy, as Michelle was already expressing earlier.
Yeah. And I know a lot of times you can be standing in a queue for a Disney event. And even if it's something very exciting, like something with D23 Expo or whatever, you still are hearing a lot of people in the queue who are rumbling or, upset about something here or there. And that wasn't the case here. People were just excited, really looking forward to participating in the last show. And the energy was really positive.
So positive that where we were, there was just a mass of people down near the end because we got there late and near the end of the line. But people knew they were in a queue, even though they had not put the traditional masking tape on the ground to give you a queue. People knew. and they followed the rules
Yeah,
and
people
which is amazing
respected
to
it.
me. They stayed in that queue. We wound around without any lines to guide us, and we did that, and it was great. I mean, it was fantastic. Got into the theater, and we were there near the end of the pre-show. So we're like, oh, we missed most of the pre-show, which the pre-show to me is just so amazing and
Yes.
fun and fantastic. And then they're like, guess what? We're going to show the entire pre-show again for everybody in here, because not everybody got to see the first run through, and everybody erupted
Yeah.
and cheered
Lord.
because it is fantastic. I don't know when the last time I saw the entire full pre-show was, but we got to sit back and watch the entire pre-show, and the love that everybody showed for it. Again, wonderful, fantastic special.
Yeah, it was the best of Disney fans coming together in that room.
Yep.
Yep.
All went through it. Of course, people quoting lines throughout their favorite lines. And again, most of the time I'm not a fan of that, but this time I was 100% for it. Everybody should take it in and enjoy it. And for sure, if you want to shout out your favorite line, your favorite gag, your favorite joke, do it, and no problem with it. Got into the show, and absolutely tears were shed during that from everybody in that show. Yet it was laughter. It was all the emotions, all the emotions for this amazing show, for its last showing. The tears, the laughter, the hooting, the hollering, the yelling, the uproarious applause for Sweetums when he comes out, all the gags, everything. Man, it was beautiful, fantastic, and heartbreaking all at the same time.
Yeah, yeah. It was, like you said, just a wonderful experience that people got to share together at that moment, and being together. I think actually was a very wonderful feeling, it's an attraction that we've all seen multiple times, but it was just the perspective at that moment and the energy that was surrounding us just made it so special.
It was a goodbye, but it was also a celebration
Yes.
of an amazing show that had been there for so long and has touched so many people's lives. And it was so amazing to be a part of it. Again, we thought we'd make one of the first showings. We had no intention of making the last showing. We're like, there's no way we're going to be here and wait in the line and be the very last show. Even if we lucked out trying to figure out the timing of it all. It's like, how do you even do that? We had no idea about this wristband. So the fact that we were able to be on the very first show of the day and the very last show of the day really was really special to us. And just while I'm sad for everybody that they're missing this, I was also just very, very happy that for everybody who got to experience it, whether it was these shows or any of the shows during the day. Heather Henson, who we already mentioned, was the very last guest to walk in. And I guess they closed the door. We were already in the theater, but I guess they closed the doors behind her. She was the very last one in, which is totally makes complete sense and is fantastic. But amazing. Again, everybody just had quite a time. I really can't even describe it.
Right.
But it was amazing. And that show, I can't describe how I grew up with the Muppets. I grew up watching the Muppet Show. I love the movies. I love it, and I'm not going to lie to you and say that every time we went to Disney's Hollywood Studios, we went to MuppetVision 3D. We are not. We did go there regularly, but it was not like a must do every time. But every time I did that show, I was just astounded by how great it is, how all the characters are almost all the characters are represented really well in it. And it's Jim Henson's last piece of art that he got to put together. And so just hoping that there's another life for it at some point down the road.
Right. Yeah. Agreed. It is unfortunate that I don't think as generations have gone on that the exposure to and love of the Muppets continued. But I do think in this moment, in this time, we were very fortunate, very unexpected, like you said, all around. Our goal was not to be for the last show, and yet we got that experience. And and the same thing of would we make it to the very last show? Really didn't have
never crossed our minds going in that day.
Didn't think about doing that. And then even though we had the bands and we knew we would qualify, we didn't ever really truly 100% believe we were going to make it there. And it just shows the magic that you can experience at Disney, with where unexpected things can happen
Yeah.
and just bring you joy.
As much as a tragedy it is that
Mhm.
that attraction is going away. Hopefully, it's going to exist somewhere else. But that it's going away for now, as tragic as that was, it was also so amazing. It was such a wonderful feeling. It was Disney magic for us to be able to make it there and be able to experience the whole thing. And then the Disney magic, the Muppet magic that came through to the crowds throughout it all. We left the theater. People were still hanging around because they didn't want to leave this wonderful space within this park and see it. They were trying to, like, we do need to do things here. They were trying to kind of not forcibly, but like you need to kind of keep moving.
More so than usual, I
Right.
think that they were.
Well, they knew that people would just stay there forever
I
because
know.
no one wanted to leave.
I know. They were even like, okay, this restroom that's right next to it is closed. You cannot
Yeah,
go
the
in
Royal
that.
Flush.
Yes, you can't go in there. So I get it. They were trying to get people out, and kind of going back to what you're saying. Yeah, sad that it was going, but I think, like I took my sister Helen not too long ago to it. And I think once it was announced that it was going to be closing, anytime you went there, you just felt more of an excitement, more happiness about it. Whereas other times when you went in, it was like, okay, how much of this crowd is really interested in the Muppet Show versus just trying to get out of the elements?
Yeah, unfortunately, that's a sad thing. But
Yeah.
it is a true thing that is kind of what was going on there in
And
the last few years.
Yeah, and it was always very empty. So, I mean, but this, if you've had a chance in the last, let's say 30 or maybe 2 months, it was probably a really wonderful experience for you to be able to do that, because it was different energy than what was happening before.
And again, applause to all the Muppet fans that showed up that day. You showed up, you represented, and you were amazing and wonderful and warm. And it was a celebration of an attraction that we all love. I'm going to dearly miss.
Yes.
No, you're going to dearly miss it. We all will. Again, hoping for another life somewhere. Just keep a good thought for that. But in the meanwhile, you keep the memories close to you that you had with this attraction. And we have so many, but this will also be one that we'll always keep with us,
right,
till the end of time.
Right. And congratulations to Disney for allowing the cast members to have special viewing a couple days later. Nice. So, even though we were part of the official, guest experience, I know there was some other things happening later, but this was the official park guests experience last day. But I'm glad that there were cast members who also had an opportunity just for cast members.
And I don't know how the cast members that were, doing the announcements during that day were making it through it. I was emotional about everything that day. I couldn't imagine how they made it through it, but they did. They were fantastic. Very much so. By the way, on our way out, Michelle likes to collect the park maps. We did stop, and because she had not gotten a map yet, we went over to where they normally keep them, and those were all sealed up. So she went over to guest services and picked up Hollywood Studios map. She likes to get one in English and one in French, usually virtually every time we go. Now, we cannot confirm this, but I think the odds are fairly decent that we may have been, or we handed out the very last map that included the Muppet Courtyard on it, because the next day the new maps came out and they do not exist on there anymore. So this was not, again, another not planned thing. And we don't know, because there were still a few people in the park, but not more than a couple hundred, I think, left still in the park by the time we had walked out of there. And how many actually asked for maps? I don't know. Maybe some did, maybe some didn't. But there's a fair chance that we got the very last map that was handed out that had Muppets on there. And so that's kind of cool as well.
Yeah. And so if you're somebody who has kept some of these guide maps along the last, 30 something years, and you have something, a special keepsake now, because that part of the park does not show up anymore.
And we did go back there the next day because, yes, we still had not seen the Little Mermaid. So we did. We didn't do much the next day. We were worn out. We were absolutely exhausted. We were planning to be back right after fireworks, pretty much. We were going to sit back, relax, probably be back in our room by 10 p.m. Not, out at Disney's Hollywood Studios till after midnight. Um, we got back to our room. We were tired. We slept in. But then we did head back to Disney's Hollywood Studios to see A Little Mermaid, a musical adventure.
Right. Well, let's also point out when we were leaving Hollywood Studios, so trying to get
Only
back,
half the Skyliner.
only half the Skyliner was working, so we were able to go from Hollywood Studios to like the
Caribbean Beach.
Right, Caribbean Beach. But then they no longer had the Skyliner working for going to the Riviera.
And to EPCOT, if you
And
had
to
gone to EPCOT,
right.
yeah.
And so they told us there was a shuttle that would come, but it didn't have like a specific routine, and they didn't know when the next one would be, that it could be, 20, 30 minutes. So we decided to do more walking.
Only a 5 minute. It wasn't a bad walk.
But it was just so funny to go
It's actually a nice walk.
Yeah, Caribbean
Especially
Beach.
since we were booking it like we were earlier in the day.
From Caribbean Beach to Riviera. So we definitely got our steps in that day. So I think that helped.
We burned off all the booze.
Yes.
That's why I wasn't hungover. I don't know.
But it was funny because, we got to our room just minutes before midnight.
Yeah.
So,
but it was great. The whole thing was great. But yes, we did go back. We were like, we were going to get ready and head back home the next day, but we did still have that one thing to do. We did go back to Disney's Hollywood Studios. We did go and see Little Mermaid, a musical adventure. Once again, it was a 50-minute wait. It was still a long wait. Did not get into the first show, but we did get into the second show.
Mm-hmm.
Saw it. What did you think about that before we close this out?
Yeah, I thought it was great. I thought it was very brilliant, colorful, and the music was, we love the music, but the performers were amazing with it. Again, their use of puppetry is always, to me, very impressive, and that they use different technology. They definitely upped the game on technology in this show, where it was very fluid to go from technology to live people and puppetry. It was very well done.
Yeah, there's only two actual actual stage actors in it, stage characters. Ariel and Eric are the only live action ones. There are puppets within it that you'll see, and what they call digital puppets, which are kind of basically CG animated characters, which show up on the screens about. But it was beautiful. The music was fantastic. The one we saw playing Ariel, the woman we saw playing Ariel was phenomenal. Great singing voice. Nailed all
very
her
impressive.
Songs. I'm going to go on a limb and say I liked it more than the villain show. I love the villain show. I like the Little Mermaid show a little bit more. It caught me a little off guard in that regard. I did enjoy that show so much, and I can't wait to see it again. Because I maybe it was just the wait and finally getting to see it. I don't know, but I thought it was phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was great too. I think, I don't know why, if it was just because of the different days that we're seeing it, putting them side by side. I like the villain show a little bit more. And it's not what I expected. I expected it to be the opposite of that. The villain show, I feel like I could go back multiple times and catch different little details.
I do agree with that.
That would be intriguing to me. And so I think that's why I would put that one a little bit more.
Okay. I get it. I liked them both. I will be going back to see both for sure. 100%. There's no question about that. Just the Little Mermaid, surprise, surprise. I'm a Disney princess at heart. The Little Mermaid show. And again, that was a surprise to me. I thought the villain show would be more my favorite. I like the Little Mermaid show a little bit more, but they're both phenomenal and both worth your time when you're at Disney's Hollywood Studios. Check them both out. So that was our trip. It was quite a trip. It was an emotional trip. It was a fun trip. It was a heartwarming and heartbreaking trip. But wow, we packed a lot in about 29, 30 hours out of the Walt Disney World Resort over the weekend.
Yeah, I think it was truly an adventure all the way around. And it was great to really, we go to the parks a fair amount of time. So it was really fun getting to experience some new things. We haven't had that opportunity in a while. And like you said, just even though it was sad to see a closing of the MuppetVision 3D, it was done in a way that was just so full of joy.
Yeah. Again, the celebration of it, the fans, everybody about it. That was great. And the new shows are great. Check them out. And GO82 is great. Just don't spend the money on the fireworks package. Go spend it in a different way there. Definitely. But yeah, overall it's great. Any last minute comments? We've gone long.
Yeah, we've gone long. No, I guess I'll keep it short then.
Okay. So that is a weekend of hellos and goodbyes. our weekend at the Walt Disney World Resort.